getting ready to do my first commercial drone flight. I got my remote pilot certificate about a year ago, right after they started issuing them. I've done a lot of prep, and maybe it's overkill for what's needed, but trying to kind of do the right thing based on what I have read, using no particular UAS software, just things that I use for conventional flying. I got a DUATS briefing this morning, and weather is good for the flight. Looked for NOTAMs and temporary flight restrictions. There's a TFR tomorrow. If we're not able to fly today, have to be, no, there's nothing in South Florida here. Looked at adjacent airports, the METARs, and looks good. And I do see that there are a couple NOTAMs for UAS operations in various areas. Three different NOTAMs for UAS operations, two of which are within the airspace. So I have a couple checklists, two different checklists that I found on the internet for the, we're going to be flying a DJI Phantom 4, and have some checklists. I'm going to have help from 3 other people. One pilot operator. I'll be flying a little bit, and so will he. We'll both get some practice with the Phantom 4. We're going to be in a fairly wide open area, and we have plotted out an aerial photo of the proposed route and the spotter positions, and maximum distance has been set for, auto flight limit has been set for 820 meters. So we have those to hand out to the participants in the flying today, and aeronautical chart section from the sectional. We'll be flying near the coast. There are some aircraft that fly low level along the beach, so but they should be above 500 feet, and we'll be below, well below 400 feet where we're flying, about a mile west of the beach. So we have those. We have a two-way radio. This is, by the way, this is an operation for the state, a state agency for the state of Florida, and we have a two-way radio. Each of the participants will have one of those that will be used. Aviation radio that will allow us to at least monitor the air traffic directly in the vicinity. We'll hear if there's a helicopter en route, or will be, you know, eyes and ears as well. But look, really the issue might be banner tow planes flying over the area. So dragging a banner, even though they may be at 500 feet, the back end of the banner might not be. So that's what we're doing today, and hopefully it goes well. The weather does look good. About a 10-knot wind out of the east, scattered clouds at 2,500, and I think higher than that, 25,000 cirrus, and 2,500 some few clouds. So it should be a good day to fly, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is we're gonna do just campus. So we need you to go up on green science with the radio, and I'm guessing. Oh, that's right. We're gonna go to the physical plant roof, and that's gonna go out that way. We got spotted. We got we're all on this underneath. Yeah. So we just say spotted. It's wherever the position is. If you don't see it, because we would like, Nick will say it's coming, it's passing with the sign, and then you try to pick it up. If you don't see it, you got to see it. Red, orange, black, or whatever. There we go.
Well, what we're going to do is I just think there's a blue forward will be spotted. Say, Matt has a blue forward. Ready to calibrate? First off, when we launch it, it's going to be, we'll keep it the same in relation to the H. So 4 will be the top of the H. Okay, the compass calibration, we're going to do a 360, first horizontal, clockwise, first horizontal.
Westbound traffic, Coast Guard helicopter 6545, we're 1 mile east of Baker's Haulover, westbound, 500 feet towards Locka.
Oh, they already got it already.
So, okay, so here we go, compass calibration, calibrate compass. Okay, it says, go ahead and,
Horizontal.
yeah, go ahead and 360. Rotate 360 horizontally, and then analog.
Green, so
Okay, next. That's horizontal, keep going. Now, turn it down, face it nose down, rotate 360 again. Go ahead. Nice and smooth, not in a rush. Okay, it's got it. It's got it. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, it's done. So we'll put it back down. Here we go. We're going to fire it up. Yeah, I'm going to try the return to home function. So you guys stand back in case it doesn't do it right. It's going to go up before it goes down.
Haulover westbound, 500 feet, last call.
Get up to maximum height. Okay, well this is the first test landing before we do that. Here comes the Coast Guard helicopter.
No sound being recorded with the video footage from the drone. There you see a debris field where we're collecting debris. And after Hurricane Andrew, off to the left is a marine science facility in association with the Frost Museum. Coming up above the Australian pines over Oneida State Park, looking to the northeast towards Sunny Isles Beach. Now rotating west, looking back to the west and north, and clearly we're rotating much too fast here, so now kind of pointing it in the direction we want to fly and headed south southeast, pitching forward too much. See the top of the rotor blades, unfortunately. Have to be careful about that, or point the camera a little bit farther down. But I like the fact the sky and the ground are like half and half. That's horizontal view. So flying over the buildings, rooftops, just kind of getting all sorts of warnings on the display screen about interference from the Wi-Fi signal at the campus below, and also we had some signal drop out here on the video signal. This was the pre-programmed camera down button, and that happened very quickly. But what you see is the aircraft is extremely steady in the air, even though the wind was blowing at least 15 miles an hour. You can see the beach off in the distance, Sunny Isles, Oneida State Park, looking back to the north and to the northwest, rotating around. New housing project there with the pool in the foreground, and beyond that to the left is a conference center. The resolution is really great, and this is like rock steady video, so just remarkable. Need to definitely polish up the flying skills and learn how to manipulate the camera independent of the aircraft flight. It's like walking and chewing gum at the same time, but we're crawling before we walk and walking before we start to run. As you see, it was a beautiful day and it's a beautiful sight, and this is about the southernmost point. I think at this point we initiated a return to home, or almost a return to home, but the signal was getting a little bit dicey here, although we still had line of sight from the building with the green metal roof that's there at the left. There was an observer there, and the two other observers were also on rooftops looking at it, and headed now towards another mangrove preserve west of the site, and looking out on the horizon. This was about a height of 390 feet. I think we went up pretty much as high as the aircraft was. It had the limits set in the software, so we took it up. And looking back to the north, and obviously swinging it around way too fast, but I think there was some latency in the signal, and wasn't getting immediate feedback from the control movements. Again, very, very steady video, and I think, this is the point where we started to return home. So it did climb a little bit higher here. The return to home altitude was set to 120 meters. Yeah, the abrupt movement there, that's the start of the return to home. See the prop blades, obviously, as it's pitching forward to accelerate back towards the home point. And I think it was a very successful flight. Clearly not high quality video, but we demonstrated the principles behind how we would operate, using the spotters, planning the flight ahead of time, listening to air traffic, choosing a good weather day. All of those things tend to help have a successful outcome. And we could have used the drone in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma passage, but we just were not quite ready. So we did a lot of extra work on the ground. Okay, so here you can see from right to left the three different drones that I used. Starting first at the right with the Hubsan X4 $35 toy that is really great for practicing, learning to use the control sticks and not run into things. And the center is the Spark, DJI Spark, which is a really wonderful little aircraft, and it connects to my Samsung phone, and I was very happy with that. And I purchased that really to use for fun and also to get a little real outside practice before flying the Phantom 4. So here we have the Phantom 4 Plus, Pro Plus with the attached screen. I did have a little bit of trial and error trying to find a cable that would work between the Spark controller and my phone, and I think that having a dedicated screen just for your remote controller is really a plus. You don't have to worry about connection problems, and we found it much easier to use. So you can kind of see the size there, not kind of, you can see it. They're order of magnitude larger, the Phantom 4, and Phantom 4 goes in a big case, and the Spark goes in a very small thing, and they're it was a good learning experience to go from the smallest to the larger in a controlled fashion, and not start out with the largest one first for me, especially since it didn't belong to me. So that's what we're working with, and that's what I kind of recommend, that people at least start with something really small like the Hubsan. So after the flight, we're going to keep a log of the flights, and that was suggested by a number of people. I keep in here the registration certificate, actually have some air traffic control contacts, and we keep a log of the firmware updates and the individual flights. So here's a sketch at the bottom of the route, and this is kind of based on some things that we found online. Start and finish time, the duration of the flight, the model. If we have multiple drones, we want to keep track of which one we're flying. Certification, registration number, battery, which we number the batteries and keep track of how many charges on each one, and the weather, NOTAMs, TFRs, those kinds of things. Flight tests, purpose of the flight, and just general information on the mission and any problems that we encounter and maintenance that we do. And so we think that that's going to be useful. And for the initial flights, we did an excerpt from the sectional chart, the Miami terminal area sectional chart, and just to verify so everybody understood where the airspace was and the obstructions and reporting points, things like that, and also the frequencies that are used by aircraft on approach to Locka. In this case, it was Locka Airport, and the flights along the coast generally report locations, position reports on 123.025 megahertz. So for this area, that's what we were using actually during the flight, was the non-controlled frequency 123.025, and we heard Coast Guard helicopters and banner towers and other people making position reports there. So, and this was just this is the plan, the staging plan we had for where to put the visual observers, the spotters. We actually had another spotter, and we did not based on the suggestions that we got, we actually put them on slightly different building locations. We had people on the roofs of 3 different buildings, one on the ground, another spotter on the ground, next to the home point for the drone, and it worked out very well. We had visual contact at all times for the drone, and we were using radio communications to verify that as we moved in a clockwise circle around the developed area, that the observers had the aircraft in sight. So it was a successful test, and we think we conducted it safely, and we did not crash the drone. That was the main objective, was to make sure it flew and could be controlled, and don't crash it. And we had some winds, 10 to 15 miles an hour, and it did very well in terms of holding things stable. In the video, lots of room for improvement on the video that we got in terms of how we fly it to not pitch forward and catch the tops of the propellers. We need to fly a little slower and tilt the camera down a little farther, and we'll have a better video result. And tweak the exposure, and depending on which way the sun's facing, that we take that into consideration for backlighting and front lighting of things that we're trying to photograph.